appreciate Paul for getting on that phone last year at the end of the season when it was time to go buy it with Detroit. I'm thankful for everything I've experienced being here. I don't think the game's over.
Welcome into Triple Zeros. I'm your host, Josh Buckhalter. This is the Anti-Hot Take Sports Show. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at JoshGBuck. Hit up the Facebook page, Clocker Sports, website, clockersports.com, and the email address is clockersports@gmail.com. Of course, you can also follow the show at 3zerospod on Twitter and Facebook. That's at the number 3zerospod on Facebook. That voice you heard was Reggie Jackson. As you could probably tell, he was not the most happy person in that moment. He was grateful, but he was not very happy. That's because his Clippers got sent home in 6 games by the Phoenix Suns. But we'll talk about that in a second, because on Thursday night, the Atlanta Hawks took on the Milwaukee Bucks. Both teams were without their superstars. Trae Young, Giannis Antetokounmpo did not play. Young has the bone bruise in his ankle, and you got Giannis with the hyperextended knee. Now, what took place on the court was really something that was out of a horror movie, because the Bucks jumped all over the Hawks in the first quarter, and it just never looked back. It was a 22-36, I believe, advantage for the Bucks scoring-wise, as the Hawks were just getting abused inside. And I actually wrote about this for Soaring Down South. Be sure to look out for that article in the morning. Clint Capella, man. I've been wondering about him and his ceiling with this team, and if he's able to, if he allows them to reach their maximum potential. He's very limited offensively. It's pretty much garbage stuff and catching lobs. Defensively, he's got a good reputation, but when you see him going up against other playoff bigs, it's not going well. So how good are you if you're going up against the other guys who are in the same spot and you're not doing? That doesn't make any sense to me. Anyway. The rebounding. So on Thursday, he had 8 boards. And I've been trying to give him some credit because he does rebound well. He led the league in rebounding this year. However, you cannot come out and give 6 points and 8 boards on a night when the opposing team doesn't have their best player. Listen, I know you don't have yours, but that's all the reason for you to step up. And instead, Mr. Capella, you allow Brook Lopez to set a new playoff career high with 33 points. And he got 7 rebounds. He got 5 times as many points, more than 5 times as many points as you, with only 1 fewer rebound. Come on now. Brook Lopez looked like he was back in Brooklyn. Like it was bad. It was all bad. Now, Capella wasn't the only one though. John Collins. And John Collins is funny because you look at his box scores and you're always going to look at him like, you know what? Hey, he did a pretty good job. He had a pretty good game. Except he is an absolute laundry basket holding water on defense, okay? This dude is getting blown past, and there's no resistance, none. And I remember just the shot blocking. Where'd the shot blocking go? You're not even chasing and getting trail blocks. Like what's happened? What's happened? And on top of that, when you watch the game, like he had 19 in Game 5. That 19 felt so passive. It felt like it just happened. Like it wasn't impactful. I think he only had, I want to say he only had like 8 points in the first half. It wasn't good. Now, that's not just a him problem. The Hawks have got a problem with starting slow. That'll also be coming off of Soaring Down South. So check that out. But how do you come out that flat? How do you allow yourself, after they had gotten good starts the past few games? This wasn't just a one-off. They had been getting good starts, right? And they did it in Game 4 without Young. So there's no excuse for that in Game 5. Lou Williams didn't play well, but it was heavy Capella problems. And Kevin Huerter, every time we start to give him praise, he reminds us that he's still a young player. I don't want to say that he's got flaws. I just want to say he's still a young player. He's still growing and still maturing. But you definitely notice that the inconsistency throughout this roster. And the ultimate point that I think I kind of realized with the Atlanta Hawks is there is no second superstar or no second star on this team yet. There are some good role players, but there is no second star. Bogdan Bogdanovic gave you 28 points, right? 28 good points, good solid points. If he's your second best player, you're not winning a championship, right? You're just not. And he's been, if not that, he's top 3, and that's still probably a problem. I'm not saying the Hawks can't do it. This is the year to do it if you're going to do it, but they're clearly not taking advantage of these opportunities. And they're allowing the Milwaukee Bucks to get comfortable and feel like they can, do it. Listen, the Bucks are talented. I'm not trying to downplay that at all. What I am saying is that it's not out of the realm of possibility for the Hawks to take these victories, but they're not. They're just simply not seizing the opportunity. They had the early leads in Game 3, lost that game. Even when Trey went down, they extended the lead for a little bit and then lost the game. Game 2, they got blown out. That doesn't count. Game 4, they won. If they'd held Game 3, it would be 3-1 or 3-2 now. It's rough. It's rough because this is part of the growth and development of a young team. But in a season like this, where there aren't going to be that many opportunities like this going forward, other teams are going to be healthy. They're going to improve. And I'm sure the Hawks will improve too, but you just know you can't look at the West, and we'll talk about that in a second here. But you just can't take these opportunities for granted, and I'm sure Nick McMillan knows that. Sometimes I wish he would be a little bit more proactive. He seemed like he left the starters in there a little bit too long to start off the game. Like I said, they got jumped all over by Milwaukee, and he just kind of let it happen. They didn't come out until I want to say 7-8 minutes were left in the first quarter. That was too long with how they were getting beat up on. It just was, especially the big guys. That to me, and while the slow start was bad, the turnovers were bad. They were bad. It was just all bad. The worst part to me was easily how much Capella and Collins were getting abused by Portis and Brook Lopez. I mean, listen, Collins is going to want big money. Somebody's going to pay him that big money. There's a point at which the Hawks can still match it. But I would not be trying to come close to a max. I'm just not. Not right now. You're not showing me anything consistently to warrant it. Capella's got 2 years left. He's making damn near $20 million. Bet you they try to shop him this offseason. Just bet they do. And we'll talk about, you got to be looking out. Hey, Soaring Island South, once again, another plug. We're going to talk about some targets for him, but you can bet that they're going to be trying to move him. He just doesn't. He's not worth $20 million right now. That's just not. I'm sorry. You can argue with me until your face is blue about the rebounding, and he's got really good post defense. Really? Because I ain't seen it. I'm not seeing it now. So I like the Hawks, and I'm still pulling for them. I still think they have a chance, but damn it if I can't see why it's going the way it's going. I actually wrote the 3 trends, the 3 things that happened. I wrote about turning defense to offense. They couldn't do that. I wrote about getting to the free throw line. They couldn't really do that. And then I forgot the third one, but I wrote 3 trends. And I talked about most of what happened in Game 5. It really just played out the way I thought it would because role players play better at home, and that's all it was in these games. So it stands to reason that the Hawks then can bounce back in Game 6. But we'll see. Hopefully, Young is back on the court and he can be the difference maker. Hopefully. Now, let's cross the country here and talk about that Western Conference and the finals over there. You had Chris Paul taking down his former team, the Los Angeles Clippers, 6 games. 6 games. Chris Paul goes out 41 points in Game 6. Okay? Remember, he missed some time with the shoulder early in the postseason. 41 points, 36 years old. He's been, and I got to run down this graphic for you because just honestly to read it all at the same time is kind of staggering. 16 seasons, 22 playoff series, 1,212 games, 37,757 minutes played, 5 different teams, 7 different head coaches, 179 different teammates, first NBA Finals. Hats off to Chris Paul, man. And to give him 41, 31 of which came in the second half. He was torching their ass. Him and Pat Beverly was going back and forth to the point where at the end of the game, Pat Beverly decided to shove him in the back. And listen, I'm not gonna sit here and defend Pat Beverly's antics on the floor. Or but I'm sorry, I'm not gonna sit here and defend Chris Paul's antics on the floor. Pat Beverly either. But for this point I'm trying to make, I'm not gonna defend Chris Paul's antics. He's been a guy who's thrown teammates under the bus. He's been a stomper, a temper tantrum thrower. We've seen it, right? Throwing the ball, like we've seen it. We've heard the stories. But for Pat Beverly to come and try to be the one to physically check him, when Pat Beverly's a dude who does all the extra stuff, I mean, the superfluous extra, right? He can't be that dude. That's not your role, bro. Like, you were having an okay series. Chill out. Y'all going home. Don't run around and push the man. Like, that's some fight. And then he tried to tweet about it Thursday. So this happened on Wednesday night. He tried to tweet about it on Thursday. Just call him. Send him a text. Find somebody. You know somebody that knows him. Come on, man. The public apology. I get it. Your apology should be as public or as strong, as much energy, same energy as your disrespect. I get it. Should be as loud as your disrespect. I get that. It just looks corny though to tweet it out a day later. You could have kept that, fam. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. That's bad. Again, like I said, it was corny in the moment because, like, dude, what are you doing? And then on top of that, you had Boogie on the sideline. Now this is another thing. Okay, this is a whole other conversation. Boogie is standing on the bench at a different point, looking at CP3, and he tells him, "That's why nobody messed with you." He didn't say mess. He used a much more explicit term, and that's what I say about I'm not going to defend CP3's antics because people know, like, it's not a secret about CP3 around the league. Now, I'm not saying I'm privy to inside stories. What I'm saying is the rumors have been swirling, and whenever the chance comes, it seems like they just get reinforced by somebody else. Boogie is a guy who's been around the league. It's not like he doesn't know. So, I mean, and look, Chris Paul was definitely letting them hear about it, and he was shooting some threes late when they were already up big and they were going to win. But if any series was going to have somebody showboating, right, or if he was going to show out and because he hasn't been doing that, we haven't been talking about that for 2 years. If he was going to do that, it was going to be in this series. I'm not even mad at it. Like, that's like you go back to your old job because now your new job is contracting them out to do some petty work, and you're the one who's that's some type stuff. Like, yeah, hey, they sent me here to get rid of y'all. I don't know. Got to file the paperwork or something. I don't know. Like, that's nice. That's what you want. So if there's any time to be petty and to rub it in the other team's face, it's when there's an organization that you spend a good chunk of your career with, where you were coming of age, right? Becoming one of the premier. Well, I guess he was already premier when he got there, but you know what I'm getting at. That 41 makes you wonder what he would have done with Kobe back in the day. I know it's been said and said and said again, but I gotta say it again, man. It just makes you wonder. Damn, David Stern had to veto that trade. I get it. Competitive balance. I don't get it. Although I will say this, if they'd let that trade go, we probably would have been where we are now with the player movement a lot sooner. I don't know if that's better or worse. I just think that would have definitely spurred it because that was what it was trending to anyway, and that would have been the kickstart. So, but yeah, shout out to CP3. Shout out to Monty Williams, CP3's head coach from New Orleans, now here with the Phoenix Suns, obviously making his first finals appearance as a head coach. You haven't heard the story. They've been together for forever, like I said, in New Orleans. When Williams' wife tragically passed in a car accident, CP3 was there by his side. So a lot of connections and bonds there, and just a team that's, listen, you don't have to think CP3 is a good dude to honor the fact that he's gone through all he's gone through to get here. That's all. That's the only way you can look at it. You gotta respect. You gotta recognize game. If he don't got G, nobody got G. Period. So you just gotta honor that he's doing. You gotta take your hat off, and like I said, just honor the perseverance of people who didn't take the shortcut, the grind, right? It's hard. It's very easy to want to give up. CP3 could have gone the easy route. He could have reinforced the narrative about him further. I wrote about this a couple months back, that he had changed his narrative without even winning a ring. And now he gets a chance to seal the deal, put the cherry on top because he went to OKC. Because he went to Houston, if you want to be real about it. I don't care what the conversation is after the fact. When he went there, it was, it's not going to work because he's going to be two ball dominant. Him and James can't work because of that. That's not why it didn't work. They both couldn't stay healthy. And CP3 has acknowledged that. That's why you saw the emotion after the game. That's why he cried before he won a ring. Because he finally got through. He broke through that glass ceiling. If you've never broken through the glass ceiling, you damn right you don't understand why he was so emotional. No, it doesn't mean he thinks he's done. He knows. You gotta, man, listen. If you know, you know. Period. That was one that I understood. And it was quick. It wasn't like he was, oh my God. He was like, man, you could see it welling up, and then he looked around the room like, oh, where the family at? Gotta appreciate that. Gotta love it. Now, on to the rest of the performers in this series. Devin Booker had 22 points this game. He has been kind of falling by the wayside because of the CP3 narrative and the Paul George talk that we'll get to in a second. But Booker has been steady as she goes. You could talk about he played poorly for a couple of games there, but by and large, you've been able to set your watch by him. If you can tell me that I'm going to get mid to high teens, probably high teens to the 20s every night from you, as from a young guy doing his thing first time in the postseason, you're going to take that 10 times out of 10. You're probably going to take it 11 out of 10 if you can, right? So I was never really, he's struggling. He's really been struggling. He was a focal point of their defensive strategy. Yeah, he probably is struggling. I don't understand. I didn't get the criticism. Again, a young player and a dude who's gone from complaining about the type of coverage that he was seeing in preseason to actually seeing it, adjusting it, and working around it, right? Them presses, he didn't like press coverage in practice and stuff, and Joakim Noah got on him about it and blah, blah, blah. Well, his team won. That's all I'm saying. They tried to bother him. They tried everything they could. Didn't work. Tried it. Didn't work. I think sometimes we look at things with the intention of being critical rather than, let me see what happened, and then I'll make my assessment after that. And we'll talk about where that really comes into play in a second. But first off, you got to talk about his other teammates. You had Jay Crowder dropped 19 points. He's been a guy, too, who's been kind of up and down. Starts off kind of cold, but then warms up as every series goes on. And then DeAndre Ayton, I still to right now, to this very moment, don't understand why he's not getting fed every time. Now, I know that's not possible. You want to diversify the offense and keep the defense off their toes and blah, all that other stuff. I get it. But I still just, every time I see him and how easily he can take over, because there's not many, at least in this series, there wasn't anybody who could match up with him. Zubac can go somewhere. He's not matching up with Ayton. That, to me, was just like, man, feed him more. And they just didn't. I felt like he was underutilized, and they still won. So maybe he gets to take over in the finals, which I do think that they're going to win. I think they're the favorite, and I don't think there's any question. Look at how banged up the other side. They're getting healthy. Now, granted, whoever comes through we don't even know how the extent of Giannis's injury yet. Not fully. We just know he was out. He's going to try to play, I'm sure, Game 6. Trey's probably going to try to play game. We don't know if they're going to come back. And we don't know how effective they'll be when they do come back, if they do come back. Phoenix is healthy. Get ready. Just get ready. For the Clippers, Paul George, 28, 10, and 5 in this series and 1.2 steals. And you heard Reggie Jackson talk about Paul George is the one who reached out to him. And we'll talk about Reggie in a second, but Paul George has been very vocal about his criticism that he's received. And here's where I'm at on Paul George. I've made him the promo for an episode for this show recently because I appreciate what he was doing. But he got out and he talked about he was the most criticized superstar. Chauncey was backing him up on it. And you had media then start following tail saying, yeah, you know what? He's the most criticized. And I was like, wait a minute. Charles came out and said it. Charles was like, that's some BS. Because superstars get criticized. If you're getting criticized, that means they expect that of you. They expect it of you because they know you're capable of it. You know what they do to guys in professional sports that they don't think can do anything? Nothing. They don't even talk about you. You just fade away into oblivion. You are. And what made it even worse that he was complaining about it was that we all knew that he was doing this without Kawhi for the past 8-9 games. You have a built-in excuse already. You have a built-in excuse. Why do you think that people are gonna okay, bet. Let's say you do. And even if I want to hold it against you, I can because the pressure's not really on you anymore. And that's the whole point. That's where this negative narrative about you comes from. The pressure is what gets you to crumble. There's no pressure on you to win without Kawhi. If this team had started the season like this, they'd have said you were damn near a lottery team. So I don't buy more criticizing. Nah, just about as much. You had a built-in excuse. Most people even people that criticize you would say, yeah, but they're not winning without Kawhi. That's just pure and simple. Listen, man. That bothered me. That in an era where I know that people are declaring their selves or whatever their value, whatever the hell they're doing nowadays with the making declarations. I get it. But shut up. Because historical things like that and talking about how, most of the time, let that be for the macro people, for the people you're supposed to be looking at the micro. You got a game to worry about. Why are you worried about social media? You were down in the series. Why are you worried about social media and the people talk about me? They talking about you, bro. Yeah, they talking about you. Guess what? They're going to keep talking about you. It's tough. That's how it goes. Reggie Jackson, though. Let's talk about something positive. Reggie Jackson, and you could hear him get extremely emotional there, and let's just play the entire thing. I'm not even going to say nothing. This is Reggie Jackson's full presser. The clip that was shared on social media after the Game 6 loss with the Clippers.
Here's my best year. The most challenging year. The most fun year. Not sure when you're going to play. Ups and downs. Guys been injured. Still finding my way in this locker room. First thing I told those guys is thank you for saving me. I appreciate him. I appreciate every guy in that locker room. I appreciate Paul for getting on that phone last year. At the end of the season, when it was time to go buy it with Detroit. I thank for everything I've experienced being here. This city making me feel home. This organization welcoming me. My quirks, my strengths, my weaknesses. I'm not here today without this team. I'm not still playing without this team, so yeah, I thank them. Forever be in my heart. This will forever be a special year. Like I said, it sucks that we didn't win it, but I ride with those guys. Those guys rode with me all year, and I ride with those guys. And that's what makes this one tougher. Makes this one extremely tough. To be the ones not getting a win, to be the ones at the end of the season, not the ones hoisting the trophy. So I think that group revitalized me. They found ways to push me each and every day, to challenge me, to ask me to be better, to encourage me to be better. They were just friends. They became family, and it's been a great band of brothers that we're building. It's been an extremely special year under these extreme difficult circumstances that everybody's been under with the pandemic, with COVID. The last year and a half, the way this team's took me in, the way this core group has welcomed me, the way that they've allowed me to be myself, and I said, I'm forever thankful for every day this group.
So there you heard Reggie Jackson getting really emotional. He was tears coming down his face, man. It was powerful as he talked about how he was so close to being out of the sport altogether before Paul George called him up and he ended up with the Clippers. Jackson averaged just 10 points this season with the Clippers, but he did average 17.8 in the playoffs, matching a career high. And in the conference finals, he averaged 20 points per game, second on the team. Like I said, they did this without Kawhi Leonard, and they pushed it 6 games. Hats off to them, because that would have been, at best, a gentleman's sweep in my estimation when it all started. So hopefully they can figure out a way to make this work, because, listen, one thing about the Clippers is I said it was going to take them a year. And it seemed like they had figured out that they had kind of just throwing it together haphazardly last year. Try to fix it this year, make it a little bit more cohesive of a group, something that made a little bit more sense schematically. But I still think they're trying to do too much emulation of other examples of this. You know, certain people that might be across the hall, whatever, where you're trying to let the players dictate more than they probably should be. Now, I'm not saying that they can't tell you, they shouldn't have a say in who's been. You gotta build this for more than just one specific thing. That they were built to beat the Lakers. Right now, they're not good enough to beat a lot of teams, and I'm surprised that they made it past Utah and did what they did. I keep doing that. No, they played Utah. I'm thinking of Denver and Phoenix. So anyway, but for them to make it through, I think was a bigger shock. Now Kawhi has stepped up his game before he went out, but that's going to be an issue going forward too. The Clippers have a lot of questions and very few answers because they kind of sold out to win something in these by next year. And I don't know if I see a pathway for them winning anything by that point in time. And Kawhi can opt out this summer. I doubt he does so. There's a lot of rumors, even linking him to my Chicago Bulls. I'll talk about that in a second. But I don't see him leaving SoCal. Why? That's where he went. He left. He had an entire country on his side, and he still left to go home to the B team in LA. He's not leaving. There's no point in leaving. He's just not leaving. But Reggie Jackson saying that's powerful stuff, man. That's the kind of stuff that when they say why do they play and it doesn't matter, that the pursuit, right? Listen, not gonna get into specifics of where this is really about, but like when you talk about why do rings matter, look at how much it matters to guys like Reggie Jackson. That's why they play. I've never understood the narrative or the argument of, oh, it's not all about rings. Damn it, tell that to the people like Reggie Jackson. Convince them that it's not about rings. Convince people like Charles Barkley, who, listen, you could talk about him being great. That digs. That one, whenever Shaq talks about him not having rings, that one gets him. It's real. That's why you play, to be the best. So all of this, it's not all about rings, but damn it, it's a lot about the rings. And it's a lot about how you get the rings. And that's why you honor Chris Paul for getting there the way he's getting there. That's why whoever comes out of the East, you're gonna honor them. Giannis and the Bucks, they've been battling. Giannis had to deal with LeBron. as like I said, as a Bulls fan who watched Derrick Rose have to struggle against that dude, I can tell you, LeBron might be bigger, doesn't mean he was better. He had to deal with it. He's had to go through it. So if he breaks through, happy for him. Hope he gets to play. Hope he comes back healthy, because you don't want to see anybody get hurt. But yeah, you just gotta honor that kind of stuff. So I honor Reggie Jackson for caring that much. I honor Paul George for being a leader like that and reaching out to somebody who could help his team, for carrying his team the way he has in this postseason. But shut up about the respect thing. Shut up about the criticize thing, rather. And let me not say shut up. That was harsh. Let's stop with you're the most criticized. Stop it. It's too much. That's just too much. Don't do that. Don't do that, because you lose all credibility, because you named yourself. The pressure came from your nickname that you gave yourself by asking, "Oh, you never heard of me?" Oh, well, no, but now we're gonna be checking for you every time we come around. Thanks for the heads up. I don't know. You had Mark Morris Sr. 26 points. He played a hell of a series, man. And I hope him and Jackson both were the best additions that the Clippers have made in the past 2 years. I need to keep them. Keep those two, Paul George and Kawhi, and you can work around everything else. I think you go. Nick Batum, they seem to like him too, but I don't know what his contract situation is. But you got to keep Morris and Jackson with PG, and they fit so well between those two. They fit so well between those two. In non-playoff news, Chauncey Billups will be leaving the Clippers bench and heading to Portland to coach the Blazers, while Jason Kidd heads down to Dallas. You got Damian Lillard catching a lot of stray bullets out of this, because people are blaming him blaming him for the organization hiring Chauncey after old allegations from 2000. Oh man, I think 97 even against Chauncey have resurfaced, and I often laugh because you think that players have that much say, and while he might have had say, Chauncey's been had that job for a while now. It's not he didn't just get a job, so he's been working. Don't bring it up now that you're gonna see him someplace else. I just the selective time to bring it out is a bothersome thing. I'll just leave it at that. Dame though, if this spurs him to go, listen, I'm gonna keep bringing it up, and I know it's a wild long shot. I got a couple of wild long shot trades that I would love to see this offseason. Two of them, both involving crossing the country here. I want to see Damian Lillard go to Washington with Brad Beal because I don't want to see Brad Beal go to Portland, but I do want to see them team up. Go to Washington, D.C., let Tommy Shepard put something around you guys and make it cook. I would love to see those two team up. Two friends, two guys who are supposedly against the super team idea. I think Dame more so than Brad Beal, but you put him with his boy, what you going to say then? Watch out. Lights out. Bucket's gone. And then the other one is, and listen, I'm going to get killed for this probably because it's just an off the wall, but I would love to see Kyrie for Paul George. I know, it's ridiculous. Doesn't make any sense. Paul George is better than Kyrie. Listen, I think there might be some fit issues with both of these teams here and how things could work. And I think they can work the way they are, but I think it would work a lot better the other way around. Like, I want to see it. Kawhi and Kyrie would be... Kawhi thinks he's LeBron anyway. Kyrie could be the offensive engine like he was with LeBron, or the bucket getter while Kawhi facilitates and does all the other stuff. And then Paul George is a guy who can kind of fill in. He can't carry you through the regular season or through the postseason, and through the regular season, he's probably going to let you down more of the times than you would like. But he can do enough of both to where if you got stars that can carry you in those other times, you'll be fine. The Nets have that. James Harden can carry you through a regular season. He just needs a Robin. PG. Kevin Durant could carry you through a regular season, but you really want him to carry you through the postseason because he's so damn efficient. He just needs a Robin. You can't count on Kyrie there, and you can't have three injured dudes. Bring Paul George, who's been surprisingly durable since that gruesome leg injury, who can play defense between those two guys and unlock, I think, their best potential, because then you can have all three of them sharing ball handling duties. Nobody's bogging down the offense, and you can retool some of the other things that you do. You move Joe Harris, Kyrie, and Claxton, right? Give Claxton to the Clippers, and now you got some. I think you're shaking and baking. This is not over. I'm gonna re-examine both of these trades, and these might come out as something for Clocker Sports, so keep an eye out for that. But that's just, listen. Hey, I'd love to see those two trades happen. You got my Chicago Bulls are in rumors with the 76ers, but not for Ben Simmons, for Tobias Harris. And listen, I'm a Cole World fan. Tobias Harris, if you don't know, looks like J. Cole, the rapper. That's why I stand on it. I've been saying it since he got drafted into the league. Tobias Harris, to me, is a guy who, while I admire his skill set, he doesn't always play up to his skill level, and that bothers me. And for the Bulls, who are a team of players who do that, don't need another one. And you might be like, well, you were for getting Ben Simmons on the Bulls, and I still am for the right price, but that's because of what Ben Simmons brings and how he would diversify what the Bulls have already. He would be a big defensive wing and ball handler, primary facilitator. That's what they need. They need all those things. Tobias is another scorer. Do you know that Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic both were in the top 10 in shot attempts last year and field goal attempts last year? There's not many more buckets to have. Tobias is a bucket, but he needs a lot of buckets. He's not always the most efficient guy, and he has a problem with showing up in the playoffs sometimes. He played better this postseason, but he's had his moments. So the Bulls, I do appreciate, and I wrote about this for Pippen Ain't Easy. I appreciate that they're back in the spotlight with all these top tier free agents. Can we stop with some of these names? Let's be smarter. Dame was linked there. Kawhi's been linked there. But Tobias, you my dog, Tobias. But let's not do that. I'm good. Kemba Walker, same thing. That's like right underneath the Dame and the Kawhi is the Tobias and the Kemba. I mean, I guess you take, because it'd be pieces that help. I would have to take something back with Kemba because that knee is probably scary. Although he might get stretched out with OKC or just Wade. Who knows how that's going to work and with his knee and the health there. But I listen, if you're going to trade with the 76ers, it's for Ben Simmons. You don't make a trade for Tobias Harris. You hear me? Because I know that Mark Eversley and Arturas Carnosaurus are big fans. I know they're listening right now. Okay? You guys are paying attention right now. Please do not make a trade for Tobias Harris. You just don't need it. You just don't need it. You just don't need it. Switching gears from some quick LFL news. And I hope I said that right. NFL, I gotta make sure. Just make sure I say it clear because I feel like I stumbled over that. But that's all right. We're gonna keep it moving. The NFL fined the Dallas Cowboys, Jacksonville Jaguars, and San Francisco 49ers for breaking OTA rules, organized team activity rules. They weren't specific, so we don't know what it was, but they're usually tied to the length and the strenuous nature of the practice. Where it's supposed to be in short, so it's supposed to just be light walkthrough, jog, whatever crap. And they probably were doing some hitting, some contact, a little extra physicality. It happens, but they got a lot of them early, and they're probably just cracking down on it anyway. The real story, the real fine, is the Washington football team being fined $10 million as the result of an organizational investigation that turned up serious problems of misconduct, sexual, all types of stuff. Here's the problem with that one. This, just like the OTA thing, we know nothing about. The NFL opted to have an oral report instead of a written one, and will not be telling the public what it found in that report. They will not allow the independent investigator to release what she found. That's a bad look because the results of it are still backlash. You got other people still coming out about it. Dan Snyder has ceded day-to-day operational control. You got his wife, the coach talking about she's surprised and stuff. Oh my gosh. Listen, this is not a good look for anybody involved. And I'm not sure that I'd forgotten about this being a thing. It's back now. The football team had a good off season, but this is serious. And we are seriously approaching a point where I don't know how much longer the NFL can hide or resist the calls for something to be done about Snyder owning the team, because it's going to be all under his watch. That's why he ceded control, because it was under his watch. Well, you can only do so much stepping back until you just step away altogether. That's going to do it for this episode of Triple Zeros. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at Josh G. Buck. Hit up the Facebook page, Clocker Sports. Website, clockersports.com. Email address, clockersports@gmail.com. And, of course, you can always follow the show at 30spod on Facebook and Twitter at the number 30 and pod. And, of course, read the stuff. Last Word on Pro Football, Pippin Ain't Easy, clockersports.com. And, of course, Soaring Down South. And until the very next time, you already know what it is, man. I'm gone.